raising their hand if they are hearing me. Sandra, can you tell me if people are hearing me?
Yes, Gina. I see a few hands. Yes. So you're good.
Okay, good. So then we'll go ahead and get started. Thank you very much, Sandra.
Sure.
So good evening from Italy. My name is Gina Yeager, and I am the Senior Member Experience Manager with USA Girl Scouts Overseas. And with me on the call tonight is Amanda Newcomb, our Communications Manager, and we also have Sandra Rivera, who is our Cookie Program Manager and Customer Care Representative and is helping us with the presentation. We want to welcome you to our continuing conversations around the Customer Engagement Initiative. And tonight, we will be focusing on changes to our internal staffing at USAGSO, as well as changes to the Overseas Committee management teams to accommodate this new system. Thank you all for taking the time out of your very busy schedules to join in this conversation. A couple of housekeeping notes before we get started. We will have time for questions during the presentation and at the end of the presentation. We ask that you type your questions in the chat box, and when we pause for questions, Sandra will read the posted questions so that Amanda and I may address them for you. If we get a question that is unclear and we can see who has posted the question, we will open your mic so that you can clarify your question for us. We will do our very best to get through as many questions as possible. On the call earlier today, we were not able to get to all the questions, but we're keeping a record of all the questions from earlier today and tonight, and we will send them out to everyone on today's calls with the answers. So if you have a question after the call, do not hesitate to send an email to overseascustomercare@girlscouts.org. You'll hear that email address often today. We will post this email also at the end of the presentation so you can see what it looks like. Okay. Sandra, can we go to the next slide? Although there is a technology change with CEI, it is also a new operating model. And to accommodate this new business model, we have made some internal organization structure and staffing changes in order to better serve all of you. And we will go over that briefly with you. We will also address on this call the transitioning OCMT roles as they relate to the Customer Engagement Initiative. Also, we have been having this ongoing discussion with you for several weeks now, and there have been many questions about the change in registration process. So we will briefly talk about the end of paper registrations. And finally, we will share with you the dates of upcoming OCMT trainings as well as other webinars. And we will also share with you a few things that are on the horizon that we have planned to better serve you. Next slide, please, Sandra. So for those that have been with our organization for some time, you are familiar with our former regional model that we had with West Pacific office, North Atlantic office, and the New York served communities. This model was based on geography as well as military and civilian community breakouts. USA GSO has transitioned to a functional model that crosses geographic locations. A key feature of this new model is the establishment of customer care so that we can provide you multiple venues to bring your questions to us, and you will receive a timely response and address any issues you may have. We have already established the email, overseascustomercare@girlscouts.org, and a toll-free number has also been established and will be published soon. Since we have staff present in Asia, Europe, and the US, we essentially will be able to provide you around-the-clock coverage during the work week. The email address has been established for some time, and we have received a lot of favorable feedback from you about having this capability. In our new organization, we also have established membership or member development managers with the primary function of working closely with our OCMTs and communities to establish and grow membership in order to bring Girl Scouts to more girls. Our troop support managers will be providing direct support with our troop leaders in order to provide them the support and resources to create sustainable and effective troops and ensure that the troop experience is a rewarding experience for our troop leaders and a meaningful experience for our Girl Scouts. Next slide, please. This year, we will be phasing in this new operating model, so this will certainly be a year of transition. Although the positions of the Overseas Committee Management Team will retain many of the traditional responsibilities, we have established some additional responsibilities, and some responsibilities have essentially gone away with CEI. For the OCC and the OC co-chair, if you have one, you will continue to be responsible for the delivery of the Girl Scout program locally and manage the Overseas Committee and community as you do currently. We also see this person or persons as the one who will build partnerships and relationships in the community and ensure we have a visible presence in your community with the goal of having a sustainable program in light of our very transient population. The secretary will be very similar to the current role. We see the secretary as the one who facilitates the communications within the Overseas Committee and with external stakeholders, and the one who maintains the official records of the Overseas Committee and assists with correspondence between the Overseas Committee and USA Girl Scouts Overseas. The treasurer, again, this position will be very similar, if not much less work, because of the online registration process. The treasurer is responsible for managing banking, troop finances, and reporting financial activities to USA Girl Scouts Overseas and other entities such as military bases as required. But the treasurer will no longer have to deal with processing paper registrations and collecting funds from our families. The registrar position will be, so there's a lot of questions about this. What will the registrar do now that there's not paper registrations? Well, we see this position now as more of a member recruitment position, one that will help develop the plan to meet the goals that are established for the community, one that promotes early bird registration and on-time registration, and plans recruitment activities in order to bring Girl Scouts to as many girls that would like that Girl Scout experience. I think we'll stop here for a second, Sandra, and you can let me know if we have any questions.
So far, I don't see any questions yet, Gina.
Okay, so we will continue. And
actually, I'm sorry, just one question came through.
Okay, great.
The question is, will all these new descriptions be available on the shared drive?
Yes. And they will be, those new positions will be part of the new Overseas Committee Management Team Manual that we are in the process of putting together. We had hoped to have it ready by the beginning of the school year, but it may be slightly delayed. But it will be available on the shared drive as soon as we can get it up there for you. We will certainly let you know when it is ready.
And I have another question, Gina.
Okay.
It says, will we be getting updated job descriptions?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Actually, the job descriptions have already been established, and I can talk to Amanda Cherzad, who is managing these positions, and we can see about getting that information out to the OCMTs as soon as possible.
I have another question. How does the troop support manager position work? Is that a local level position?
Those positions are in the USA GSO offices. So they are USA GSO staff. That will be their primary responsibility, is to work with troops within the communities.
And for now, I have the last question that says, last information sessions said these positions won't have access to VTK. How do they then conduct their roles? And I think this is pertaining to the, will we be getting updated job descriptions, and then probably they're just making
Amanda. I can answer that question.
Thank you.
So the VTK is really a support for troop leaders to plan their year plans, and that's you know, and help manage that process. It's not really on that community level to manage that process. So you'll still have a lot of the business processes and other steps that you've developed as a community in place. And you'll be getting regular reports to be able to communicate to your members and parents and everyone in very much the same way that you have done so far. So not having access to the VTK doesn't prohibit you from performing the roles as you've done for the years before we had this new system.
Thank you, Amanda. There was another question from the same person. What about registration and budget? And I would think that this pertains to the VTK, probably.
The budget, the finance feature within the volunteer toolkit is meant for the troops to manage any funds within the troop. It is not Overseas Committee level management of funds. So the management of funds for the Overseas Committee will be the same as it is done now.
Okay. Next question. Are these the only 4 positions to make up OCMT, or do Do event coordinator, camp coordinator, and any other positions like cookie manager count as OCMT members?
Yes, it depends on how you structure your OCMT locally. And so if you decide locally that you're going to have an event coordinator as a member of your OCMT, then you can do so. You can determine locally how you structure your overseas committee management team.
Okay.
We will not provide job descriptions for those positions. Those would be positions that you establish to serve your committee locally or your community. But we will have established job positions for the 4 positions that we just discussed.
Thank you, Gina. I have another question. OCMT treasurers usually just handle service unit accounts budget. Troop level dues are handled at the troop level, not by the OCMT treasurer. Is this consistent with what you had in mind?
Yes, I mean the troop leaders within the VTK will be able to manage their troop dues in that they have the feature in the VTK to do that, and the OCMT can manage the other funds for the community as they are doing now.
Thank you, Gina. So far, I don't have any more questions on the questions box.
Okay, great. Well, then we can go ahead and continue. And so if we can go to the next slide. Okay, what to do with the paper registrations? Well, our recommendation, if any OCMT is holding paper registrations in their hands right now, we recommend that you return them to the parents and have them enter the registration themselves. This is recommended for several reasons. The account that is established in the system will be the family account. That way, if the parent is entering their information and their daughter's information directly, there's a much greater chance that there will be no errors in the entry. Plus, they will have to establish their own password, etc. If the registrar does this, they will, of course, have to establish the account for the parent under the parent's name, and then provide the login information to the parent. Also, if the registrar makes an error on anything, address, telephone number, email address, that could create a problem for the parent as they're trying to gain access to the account. In addition, if the registrar does not have a OC level credit card that they can use, and they have to stop in the midst of the registration process because they cannot complete to payment, which is when you need a debit card or credit card to complete the process, the parent will start getting emails after 2 hours saying, we see that you have stopped your registration, please come back, we're here to help. And then those emails will continue over a month time period until the account is paid for. So there's many benefits to having the parent do that. We know that the parents typically have given either a check or a credit card number to the OC in the past when they collected the registrations, or the OC paid for the registrations out of their OC account. We still highly recommend you give it to the parent to enter that information, and that you either return their funds so they can pay for it directly, or you could, if the OC account has paid for it, if it's a renewal and it's coming out of the troop funds, to reimburse the parent that money that they will pay out of pocket to get their daughter enrolled.
Gina, I have a question that is related to what you're talking about right now.
Okay.
They're saying, what do we do with those who refuse to pay online and only want to use cash?
Well, and we know that we will have cases like that. So there's several options. Someone at the OCMT level could go ahead and pay with a credit card or debit card for that registration and reimburse themselves from what the parent provides. Or you can mail that in to us to process. And as you can see on the slide, the second bullet, it does say that you can send the registration, a paper registration with funds, to a USAGSO office to be processed. That is certainly not ideal, but it can be done. But it will create a delay for that girl to be a member or that adult volunteer to be able to volunteer, because we have the issue with the mail, which sometimes takes up to 3 weeks to get to us. And then that registration is going to be in a queue to be processed. And as I have seen over the past year, not always does the money come with the registration, and we cannot process the registration until we have the funds in hand. And those funds are in our account. So ideally, it will be the parent that does this, or someone at the OCMT level who would be willing to process it on a credit or debit card. But we do have a process that we can do it. It will be a delay to that member. Once it would be processed, which could take as long as a month, maybe more, then the parent would receive the email saying that they can set up their MyGS account.
Thank you, Gina. And I have another question related to this.
Okay.
It says, what do you suggest we do for our recruiting events before the 28th?
Good question. What we would recommend is that you take the names and contact information, email, phone number, and you tell the parent that you will email them the link to the registration site on or shortly after August 28th when it becomes live. The link will be available on www.usagso.org. And there will be a Join Now button, and you can go ahead and send that link to all of your interested parents.
Thank you, Gina. Let me see if I think I have another question. Yes, it says, as the registrar, how will I know if someone registers online?
Oh, that's a great question. Since we know that the OCMT members at this time do not have access to their community level information on their troops, we are going to provide, at least in the near term, weekly reports to our OCMTs so they know everyone who is registered and all the pertinent information that you would need for the troops and volunteers in your community.
Thank you, Gina. Right now, I don't have any more questions, so maybe we can continue.
Okay. So we do have some volunteer training and resources for you. The volunteer toolkit, which is going to be an amazing resource for our troop leaders, will be available on August 28th for all registered members. The parents will have the parent view of the volunteer toolkit for their daughters who are Girl Scouts. And the troop leader will be able to set up their troop year in the volunteer toolkit. We have continuing open forum calls, webinars at noon and 6 p.m. Italy time on the August 23rd, the 30th, and the 6th. And we hope that you will join us, especially those that are going to be held after we go live. So that would be a good opportunity for you to bring your questions after you've had a chance to play with the system a little bit. And then we have OCMT trainings that are going to be held in September in Shanghai, Switzerland, Okinawa, and Tokyo. And we hope that at least one member, but hopefully at least two, can come from your OCMTs to these trainings. The OCMT resource binder, as I mentioned earlier, we are working on that, and we hope to get that to you very, very soon. And then in October, we will start up again our monthly OCMT calls, and they will be for all OCMT members, not just OCCs.
Thank you, Gina. Yes, I'm sorry. Yes, I have a couple of questions. You read my mind.
Okay.
I have a question regarding the reports that you mentioned before. The question is, will those reports go to the OCC or registrar?
They will, well, we would probably send it to the whole team, whoever we have email accounts established for. So at the very least, it will go to the registrar and the OCC.
OCC.
Yes.
Okay, and the next question is, how will volunteers register? Is it still on paper, the all volunteer registration application?
Volunteers will be registering online just as the girls would register as well.
Okay, and the next question I have, at the moment, OCMT calls and webinars are being announced on the OCC Facebook page. Can this now be opened up to secretary registration and treasurers so they can see what is going on, or meetings, webinars being made available?
Well, I'll share this now. I was going to share it later, but we are establishing new Facebook pages for all OCMT members, and it will be a USAGSO-wide Facebook page. So currently, we have some legacy Facebook accounts, one in West Pacific, one in North Atlantic. They will be changed to a USAGSO Facebook account that will be for OCMT members. We are also going to establish one for troop leaders for all of USAGSO. So that will be a good way for us to get information out to the respective audiences as needed very quickly.
Thank you, Gina.
So here we are at the overseas customer care at girlscouts.org email address. I encourage you to use it. We will answer all the incoming emails to this email address. And as I mentioned earlier, we will have a toll-free number as well that will be published very soon. So Sandra, can we go to the next slide? So more things to come. There will be some new shopping options from the shop and discounts and products. So you can anticipate hearing more about that. As I mentioned earlier, there will be new Facebook groups for OCMT members and for troop leaders. And we look forward to rolling that out. In addition, we have established new OCMT USA GSO email addresses for all of our USA GSO Overseas Committee Management Team members. And with this new email address, you'll have access to a Google Share Drive where we can easily share information with you as well. We currently have this established in our European office, but we did not have that established elsewhere. And we felt that this was really important to have, give everybody access to this functionality so that when we change over OCCs or treasurers or registrars or the secretary, the email stays the same. And that whoever is new in that role can just sign up to be getting get access to that email account. And that way you can retain a history of all the emails even when personnel change positions. So we look forward to rolling that out to you very soon as well. And if we have any more questions?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
I have another question. It says, will all information still be sent by email for those OCMT members and teams who don't use Facebook? And I guess you sort of answered that question now already.
Anything that we would post on Facebook would be, we would also post through our other various means, either through the Troop Scoop newsletter or through emails to our different communities. But there will be multiple ways to get information out, especially if it's important and you need to know. We would not rely solely on Facebook because we do understand that not everybody does use that functionality.
Thank you, Gina. There is another question regarding the emails. Is this just for the OCC or for all of the OCMT? It says, our neighborhood currently only has one email.
It is going to depend on the size of your community, and I don't have it memorized, the exact breakout, but our larger communities will have 4 emails established, and that would be for the OCC, the treasurer, registrar, and secretary. As OCs are reduced in size, that will determine how many emails that you have established. And Sandra, I know that you worked with our contractor on setting this up. Maybe you know some of that offhand. I don't remember the breakout.
Is this for exactly what was the what you wanted me to clarify about that?
If you remember what the breakouts were. And if you don't, it's no
No,
problem.
I don't know. I don't remember by heart.
Okay, so
Sorry.
I can when we submit the written answers to you to these questions, we can research that, and I can share that. I can share that information. So I don't know the breakout. It's going to really depend on the size of your community, how many email addresses you are provided.
That's correct. I have a great comment here. It says super idea for the email addresses and shared drive. Thank you. And I have another question. It says, when will the new email account information be shared with the OCMT members?
Soon. I would. You can anticipate that within the next couple of weeks.
Thank you, Gina. So far, I don't have any more questions.
Wow.
You've answered them all, and Amanda also answered a couple, I think.
Well, we still have about 25 minutes left available, and I'm thrilled to give you back part of your evening or morning, depending on where you're located. But if you do have any more questions, we certainly have plenty of time to answer them. So I'll give you a few minutes.
Okay, let me
We
check.
we hope that you're all excited about the changes that are forthcoming. We look forward to getting your feedback. And as I mentioned before, overseas customer care at girlscouts.org. If you think of a question once we end the call tonight, you can email us and we will get back to you.
Actually, I have another question, Gina.
Okay.
It says, do you have any suggestions on how to manage our registration events now that we don't have paper registration?
Well, I would say that you can certainly still hold a registration event by making it an information session to tell members of your community about Girl Scouts, and again, get people that are interested in either being an adult volunteer or parents of potential Girl Scouts to sign up, get their phone numbers, their email addresses, and you can even start talking about setting up troops if you get enough interest to form a troop, and then you can send them that information link to go ahead and join on April or August 28th. And if you know that you will be able to form a new troop by the interest that you are getting, you can work with our staff to get that established in the opportunity catalog if it is not already established, so that we can get that all set up and ready to go for when those parents are ready to sign up their girls.
Thank you, Gina. Next questions. I have a few questions coming up. So the next question says, with regards to the troop support in USA GSO New York offices, when will be advised of names and contact information?
Well, that's a good question. We are in the process of adding some of these new positions to the staff. So not all the roles are currently filled. So some of our staff members have been identified for a particular role are actually doing additional responsibilities during the transition until we get the new staff on board. So ultimately, the staff, I believe, is going to be identified on our website, and maybe Amanda, you can jump in on that. Will we have a staff listing?
So right now, most questions that everyone should have can go to through customer care, and then it can be assigned to the staff, and then they'll follow up with you. So then you'll know who your point of contact is. So if you have questions right now or in the future, You can just email that overseas customer care at girlscouts.org email address, and we will assign the appropriate staff to help you with that. Then and then in addition, staff will reach out to you. The staff assigned to your community will reach out to you on a regular basis to make sure that you're getting all of the information and support that you need.
Thank you, Amanda. Okay, I have a nice comment here. It says, this has been the most concise yet informative webinar in this series so far. Much appreciated.
Thank you.
Next question. Do you have any new clip art for us regarding the VTK? I would like to make a display board at recruitment.
Oh, I'm sure we could provide you something. If you put in your contact information in the chat log, we can ensure that we get you some of that information.
Thank you, Gina. Next question. I haven't seen this year's Volunteer Essentials document yet. Is this due to be published shortly?
Yes. Yes, in fact, I'm personally working on that, and it's very close to being done. There are a few things, a few minor things that have to be done with the document, but then once it is complete, it will be available via link on the www.usagso.org, as well as on the Google Share Drive, which you'll have access to.
Thank you, Gina. Next question. As the registrar, how will I get copies of the registrations?
If you were talking about how you will get copies or the information of who's registered online, we will be providing that via report to the registrars and the OCCs.
Thank you, Gina. We have quite a few more.
Okay.
Next question. Will we be receiving the OCMT resource binder at the OCMT training?
We are not going to publish a document. For those of you that are familiar with the binder, it is like a 3-inch. It was a 3-inch binder, huge. We are not going to provide hard copies. Those documents will be available via the Google Drive. So that's where they will post it. We will probably share parts of it with you during the OCMT training, but it will be available on the Google Drive, and plus we want to be green and not kill a lot of trees.
Thank you, Gina. Next question. I think the VTK graphics would be useful for all communities. Could they be added to the OC Facebook page?
I don't see why not, but Amanda, since you are our communications guru and brand expert, would you like...
Yeah, I'll think about that. We'll definitely get them shared. I understand there's a need for it, and we'll think about the different avenues in which to share those photos.
Thank you, Amanda. They made a comment maybe of something that you said earlier, Gina. They said, me too for the VTK clip art and basic information as well, please. So I guess there's another inquiry about that. And then the last question I have is, will there be a later opportunity to attend an OCMT training session? I realize that a weekend-long event will not be possible, but would a webinar or a conference call be possible? I don't think anyone from our community can attend.
If the person is asking from Europe,
yes, I believe.
Okay, we have been approached by another community who would like us to hold an event for them in Hohenfels in Germany at the end of September, early October. And there are actually some other communities that cannot attend the Switzerland event that may be interested in attending that one as well. So there is a possibility we may hold another event. It may be a day event in Germany. We will get that information out as soon as we have more clarity on that. But certainly, if there is a desire for additional training via webinar or other means, we will accommodate you. We want to work together to be a strong organization, and we know that training is important, and so we will certainly do it whatever means possible to provide that.
Thank you, Gina. I have another question. It says, sorry, back to the volunteer applications. So does the registration online still gather background checks, information, referee information, etc.?
Background checks will have to be done locally. And so as they're being done now. So when we get a person who is interested in being a volunteer, if they sign up to be a volunteer, the OCMT is going to know about it. So because you would be notified. And then you can ensure that that background check is conducted locally. We don't have a means of doing background checks at a global level. And so as it has been done for many years in USA GSO, those will be done at the community level, but everything else would be done online.
Thank you, Gina. And so far, I don't see any more questions.
Well, as I mentioned earlier, every question that has been asked, as well as those that were asked at the noon webinar, have been captured, and we will type out responses and we will share them with everyone who's registered for both the webinars today. So you will have that as a resource. We'll also get out the other materials that you have requested. And we're really, really thrilled that you joined us today. Thank you again for taking the time to be with us. And also thank you for your commitment to our Girl Scouts. And if you have any further questions, please email overseascustomercare@girlscouts.org.
Thank you, Gina. I got a few thank yous on the question box.
Thank you so much, and we look forward to working with you. I hope everybody has a wonderful evening or afternoon or morning, depending on where you are. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone.